Captain Jake Morrison walked through the long metal hallways of the alien research ship. The walls were smooth and white, very different from human ships. Everything felt cold and clinical. His second officer, Lieutenant Amy Carter, walked beside him. They were here for a simple diplomatic meeting with the Galactic Federation. Dr. Kelthera, the tall alien scientist leading the tour, had blue-gray skin and 4 arms. She spoke in perfect English through her translation device. "We study many species here," she said proudly. "Our research helps the Federation understand different forms of life across the galaxy." Morrison nodded politely. These diplomatic visits were routine now. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 10 years, and they still needed to build good relationships with other species. "This section contains our behavioral studies," Dr. Kelthera explained as they entered a new area. "We observe how different species react to various situations. Very educational." Amy Carter stopped walking. She stared through a large window into what looked like observation rooms. Her face went white. "Captain," she whispered. Morrison turned to see what had caught her attention. Through the transparent walls, he could see small figures moving around in sterile white rooms. At first, he thought they might be young aliens. Then he looked closer. They were human children. Morrison's heart started beating faster. He counted 12 kids, ranging from very young to teenagers. They wore simple gray clothes and sat on basic furniture. Some were playing with each other. Others sat alone, looking sad. "What is this?" Morrison asked, his voice getting louder. Dr. Kelthera looked confused by his reaction. "These are specimens from Terra-class planet designated as Earth Colony 7. We acquired them 2 years ago for behavioral analysis." "Acquired them?" Amy Carter stepped closer to the window. A little girl inside, maybe 7 years old, looked up and saw them. The child's eyes went wide with hope and excitement. "Yes," Dr. Kelthera continued casually. "There was a natural disaster on their colony. We rescued these young ones for study. They display fascinating pack-bonding behaviors that we document daily." Morrison felt something dark and angry rising in his chest. "You took children from their families?" "Their families perished in the disaster," the alien scientist said matter-of-factly. "We saved them. Now they provide valuable data about human social structures." Amy Carter pressed her hand against the window. More children. Noticed them now. A teenage boy came forward, followed by others. They all stared at the humans with desperate hope in their eyes. "How long have they been here?" Morrison demanded. 26 Earth months. The data we have collected is remarkable. Humans show extreme protective behaviors toward their young, even when not biologically related. Very unusual among intelligent species. Morrison's hands shook with rage. He had never felt anything this intense before. The need to protect these children hit him like a physical force. "You caged human children for 2 years?" "Caged is an inaccurate term," Dr. Kelthera corrected. "They have proper living spaces, adequate nutrition, medical care, and educational stimulation." "Let me talk to them," Morrison said. Dr. Kelthera hesitated. "That would contaminate our behavioral observations." I said, "Let me talk to them." Morrison's voice carried a tone that made even the alien scientist step back. They entered the observation area through an airlock. The children rushed toward them immediately. The oldest boy, maybe 14, spoke first. "Are you from Earth? Are you here to take us home?" Morrison knelt down to their level. "Yes, we're from Earth. What are your names?" "I'm Danny Rodriguez," the teenager said. "This is my sister Lisa." He pointed to a girl about 10 years old who clung to his arm. "I'm Noah Phillips," said a small boy with sandy hair. Other children crowded around, all talking at once. They told him their names and asked about their families. Morrison felt his anger growing stronger with each innocent question. Amy Carter was recording everything with her personal device. She had tears in her eyes as she listened to the children's stories. "The tall blue lady says our parents died in an earthquake," Lisa Rodriguez said sadly. "But Danny thinks they might still be alive. Do you know?" Morrison looked at Danny Rodriguez. The boy's eyes were older than they should be. He had been taking care of the younger children for 2 years. "We're going to find out," Morrison promised. "And we're going to get you home." Dr. Kelthera watched from outside the observation room. She made notes on her device about the extreme emotional responses displayed by the adult humans. The disaster was reported as a complete loss of life, she told her assistant, Dr. Veltok. These specimens were the only survivors. Dr. Veltok, a younger Zephyrian scientist, watched Morrison interact with the children. Something about the scene bothered him, though he could not understand why. Morrison stood up and walked back to Dr. Kelthera. His face was hard and cold. "You're going to release these children immediately." "That is not possible," she replied. "Our research is not complete. The Federation approved this study." "My God," Morrison said quietly. "You caged human children? Do you have any idea what you've done?" Amy Carter joined them. "Captain, I've sent a priority message to Earth Command. Admiral Brooks is being notified." Dr. Kelthera looked annoyed. "This reaction is excessive. We have treated the specimens well. They are in better condition than when we found them." Morrison turned to face her completely. When he spoke, his voice was deadly quiet. "Those are not specimens. They are children. Human children with families, who love them and miss them. And if you think for 1 second that humanity will allow this to continue, you don't understand us at all." The alien scientist finally seemed to realize that something was very wrong. Morrison's anger was so intense that it filled the room like heat from a fire. "I need to contact the Federation Council," Dr. Kelthera said uncertainly. "You do that," Morrison replied. "But those children are not spending another night in cages." As word spread through the research ship about the human captain's reaction, other alien species began to pay attention. None of them had ever seen anything like Morrison's protective fury. The discovery was about to shake the entire Galactic's community. The children watched through the window as the adults argued. They did not understand everything that was happening, but they could see that the humans were fighting for them. For the first time in 2 years, they had real hope. Dr. Kelthera led Morrison and Carter to a meeting room filled with data screens and research notes. Charts showed behavioral patterns, sleep cycles, and social interactions of the human children. Everything was documented like they were studying animals in a zoo. "I do not understand your extreme reaction," Dr. Kelthera said, her forearms moving as she spoke. "We have provided excellent care for these subjects. Look at our data." Morrison stared at the screens showing videos of the children. He watched Danny Rodriguez sharing his food with smaller kids. He saw Lisa Rodriguez comforting a crying boy during a thunderstorm simulation. The aliens had recorded every moment of their lives for 2 years. "You recorded them constantly?" Amy Carter asked, her voice tight with anger. "Of course. How else would we study their pack-bonding behaviors?" Dr. Kelthera seemed genuinely puzzled by their reactions. "Humans show remarkable social cohesion. Even unrelated young ones care for each other. Very unusual in the galaxy." Dr. Veltok, the younger alien scientist, watched the videos with growing discomfort. "Doctor, perhaps we should explain our species' development to the humans." Dr. Kelthera nodded. "Zephyrians abandon our young after birth. They survive alone or die. This makes us strong and independent. We do not understand emotional attachment to offspring." Morrison felt sick. "So you took human children because you don't understand that we love our kids?" "Love is an imprecise term," Dr. Kelthera replied. "We study the biological imperatives that create these attachment behaviors. Your species shows extreme protective responses that override logical thinking." "Logical thinking?" Morrison's voice rose. "Those children have been crying for their parents for 2 years." Dr. Veltok pulled up more data. "The subjects maintain hope despite evidence that their families are dead. They create family structures among themselves. The oldest male, Danny Rodriguez, has assumed a parental role over younger subjects." Amy Carter watched a video of Danny teaching Noah Phillips how to tie his shoes. The teenager was so gentle and patient. "That's not a biological imperative. she said quietly. That's love. We do not understand this concept of love, Dr. Kelthera admitted. Our research aims to document these irrational behaviors for the scientific community. Morrison activated his communicator. Lieutenant Carter, send an immediate message to Earth. Full priority. Tell them we need Ambassador Martinez and Admiral Brooks here now. As Amy sent the message, Dr. Kelthera continued explaining their research. We have documented 847 instances of resource sharing among the subjects. They give food to weaker individuals even when they are hungry themselves. This behavior serves no survival purpose. It serves every survival purpose, Morrison said. Humans survive by taking care of each other. Dr. Veltok was studying Morrison's emotional responses. You show the same protective behaviors toward these unrelated offspring. Are all adult humans programmed this way? We're not programmed, Morrison replied. We choose to protect children because it's right. The concept of choice seemed to confuse both aliens. Dr. Kelthera made notes about voluntary protective responses in her files. News of the discovery was already spreading through the research ship. Other alien species working on the vessel began requesting information about the situation. The ship's computer systems buzzed with interspecies communications. The Altarian representatives are asking about the human young ones, Dr. Veltok reported. They seem disturbed by our research methods. Dr. Kelthera looked annoyed. Altarians are overly emotional. They bond with their offspring for several years before independence. Several years? Morrison asked. How long do humans typically care for their children? Your data shows active protection for approximately 18 Earth years, with continued emotional bonds throughout the lifespan, Dr. Kelthera read from her notes. Highly inefficient from a biological standpoint. Amy Carter laughed bitterly. Inefficient? That bond is what makes us human. More reports came in from other parts of the ship. The Crystalline Confederacy delegates were expressing shock. The silicon-based species had their own forms of caring for developing members, and they found the Zephyrian research disturbing. I am receiving numerous communications, Dr. Veltok said nervously. Many species are requesting details about our human research. Morrison looked at the alien scientists. You thought this was just normal research, didn't you? You had no idea what you were doing. We followed proper Federation protocols for studying primitive species, Dr. Kelthera defended. Primitive? Morrison's anger flared again. We've been to the stars. We have faster-than-light travel. We're members of the Galactic Federation. How are we primitive? Your emotional attachment to offspring represents primitive evolutionary programming, Dr. Kelthera explained. Advanced species evolve beyond such inefficiencies. Dr. Veltok was reading more incoming messages. Doctor, the Tau Cetian delegation is calling our research an abomination. The Vegan Empire is demanding an investigation. For the first time, Dr. Kelthera looked worried. This is unexpected. Why are other species reacting this way? Morrison realized something important. Because every intelligent species protects their young in some way. You might be the only ones in the galaxy who don't. Amy Carter was monitoring communications from other ships in the area. Captain, we're getting support from species we've never even met. The galactic community is rallying behind the children. Dr. Veltok showed them a communication from the Andromedan Council. They are demanding immediate release of the human offspring and full accountability for our actions. Dr. Kelthera's confidence was cracking. This was approved research. We violated no Federation laws. Maybe you didn't break laws, Morrison said. But you broke something much more important. You broke trust. You took children from their families and caged them for science. We saved them from certain death, Dr. Kelthera insisted. Morrison looked directly into her alien eyes. Did you really? Or did you cause the disaster that killed their families so you could take the children? The silence that followed was devastating. Dr. Veltok stared at Dr. Kelthera with growing horror. Other alien scientists in the room began backing away from her. That would be, Dr. Veltok started. That would be murder, Morrison finished, and kidnapping, and torture. Dr. Kelthera's forearms trembled. The research was for the greater good of galactic understanding. No, Amy Carter said firmly. The research was for your curiosity. You destroyed lives for your curiosity. As reports continued coming in from across the galaxy, it became clear that the Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake. The discovery of caged human children was causing outrage among species that had never agreed on anything before. The revelation was spreading like wildfire through space. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone hurt human children. The news traveled faster than anyone expected. Within hours, every major species in the galaxy knew about the human children locked in Zephyrian research facilities. Communication networks buzzed with outrage and demands for action. Ambassador Elena Martinez arrived on the first diplomatic vessel that could reach them. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her presence filled every room she entered. Behind her came Admiral Ryan Brooks with a fleet of 12 human warships that positioned themselves just outside Federation space. Captain Morrison, Ambassador Martinez said as she boarded the research vessel. "Show me the children." Morrison led her directly to the observation area. The children had been moved to a larger room but were still under constant surveillance. When they saw the new humans, they rushed to the windows again. Danny Rodriguez pressed his hand against the glass. "Are you here to take us home?" Ambassador Martinez placed her hand on the glass across from his. "Yes, son. We're here to take you home." Dr. Kelthera tried to explain the situation to the ambassador. "These subjects are part of ongoing research, approved by the Federation Science Council. Removing them would destroy years of valuable data." Martinez turned to face the alien scientist. Her voice was deadly calm. "Doctor, you have exactly 1 hour to release these children to our custody. After that, Admiral Brooks will consider this a hostile action against human civilians." "You cannot threaten Federation vessels," Dr. Kelthera protested. "I'm not threatening," Martinez replied. "I'm explaining what will happen if you continue to hold kidnapped children." Messages kept pouring in from across the galaxy. The Altarian Empire, usually neutral in all conflicts, issued a formal condemnation of Zephyrian research methods. Their statement read, "The imprisonment of sentient young violates the most basic principles of civilized behavior." The Crystalline Confederacy went further. Their silicon-based species had never shown much interest in biological creatures before. Now they declared the research an abomination against all sentient life, and demanded immediate Federation intervention. Even more surprising was the reaction from the Vegan Empire. The plant-based species had fought wars with humans over territorial disputes. Now they were sending ships to support the human fleet. Dr. Veltok monitored the communications with growing alarm. "Dr. Kelthera, we are receiving condemnation from 47 different species. Many are threatening to withdraw from Federation research programs. This is irrational," Dr. Kelthera insisted. "We saved these subjects from certain death." Admiral Brooks contacted the research vessel directly. His voice boomed through the ship's communication system. "This is Admiral Brooks of the Human Defense Fleet. You are holding 12 human children against their will. Release them immediately or face the consequences." "What consequences could you possibly threaten us with?" Dr. Kelthera asked. Morrison looked at her with cold eyes. "Doctor, you really don't understand humans at all, do you? We will move heaven and earth to protect children. All children, not just our own." As if to prove his point, reports came in about human actions across the galaxy. Human ships were diverting from trade routes to assist alien vessels with young passengers in distress. Human colonies were offering sanctuary to refugee families of any species. "The humans are mobilizing their entire fleet," Dr. Veltok reported, nervously. "Not just military vessels. Civilian ships, cargo haulers, even personal craft are moving toward Federation space." Ambassador Martinez was recording statements from the children. Noah Phillips, the smallest boy, sat on her lap as he talked. "The tall blue lady said our mommy and daddy died," Noah told her. "But Danny says maybe they didn't. Maybe they're looking for us." Martinez felt tears in her eyes. "We're going to find out, sweetheart. We're going to check on everyone." Dr. Veltok approached Morrison privately. "Captain, I must ask you something. In our research, we observed that the human young maintain hope despite evidence of family loss. They continue to believe rescue will come. Is this normal behavior? Morrison looked at the young alien scientist. Doctor, hope is what keeps us human. These children never stopped believing someone would come for them because they know humans never abandon their young. But the evidence suggested their families were dead, Dr. Veltok said, confused. Evidence can be wrong, Morrison replied. Love never is. The revelation that had been building finally came out. Amy Carter had been investigating the natural disaster that supposedly killed the children's families. Her research revealed something horrifying. Captain, she called out loudly enough for everyone to hear. The seismic charges that caused the earthquake on Colony 7 were not natural. They were artificial. Someone caused that disaster. Dr. Kelthera went completely still. Around the room, other alien scientists began backing away from her. You murdered their families to steal the children, Morrison said quietly. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Dr. Veltok stared at his mentor with growing horror. The research required proper subjects, Dr. Kelthera said defensively. The colony was isolated. The loss could be attributed to natural causes. You killed innocent people, Ambassador Martinez said. You orphaned children deliberately, for science. The reaction from the galactic community was immediate and explosive. Species that had never cooperated before united in condemnation. B.E. Peaceful Tau-Cetians called for war crimes tribunals. The militaristic Rigel Confederation offered their fleets to support human actions. 49 species are now demanding your arrest, Dr. Veltok told Dr. Kelthera. The Federation Council is calling an emergency session. But the most powerful statement came from an unexpected source. The Andromedan Council, the oldest and most advanced species in the galaxy, sent a simple message that appeared on every communication network. Any species that would cage the young of another deserves neither respect nor membership in civilized society. The humans have shown us what true advancement looks like. Protect the innocent no matter the cost. Dr. Kelthera finally realized the magnitude of what she had done. The galaxy was uniting against her people, against everything she had believed was proper scientific method. This is not how the galaxy works, she whispered. You're right, Morrison said. This is how the galaxy should work. And thanks to these children, now it will. The children watched through the windows as ships from dozens of species arrived to support the humans. They didn't understand all the politics, but they knew that the entire galaxy was fighting for them. Danny Rodriguez put his arm around his sister Lisa. See? I told you someone would come. The uproar was just beginning. The Galactic Federation Council convened the largest emergency session in its history. Representatives from over 60 species gathered on the neutral station orbiting the twin stars of Centauri Prime. What had started as a routine research review had become a trial that would reshape how the galaxy viewed the treatment of young sentient beings. Dr. Sarah Kim, a human psychologist, arrived with the medical team to evaluate the children. She was a kind woman with gentle hands and a soft voice that immediately put the kids at ease. As she examined each child, she documented not just their physical condition, but their emotional state. They're remarkably resilient, she told Morrison, after spending hours with them. But the trauma is real. They've been living in fear and uncertainty for 2 years. The children had been moved to better quarters on the human ship while the trial proceeded. Danny Rodriguez still acted as their protector, making sure the younger ones ate their meals and got enough sleep. Lisa Rodriguez stayed close to her brother, but she was starting to smile again. Noah Phillips had attached himself to Dr. Kim. Are you going to stay with us? He asked hopefully. As long as you need me, she promised. The trial itself was being broadcast across the galaxy. Species that had never paid attention to Federation politics were watching every moment. The charges against Dr. Kelthera and the Zephyrian research team included murder, kidnapping, torture, and violations of sentient rights. Captain Morrison was called to testify before the council. He stood at the center of the great chamber, surrounded by beings from across the stars. Some breathed different atmospheres and appeared only as holograms. Others looked nothing like humans at all. But they all listened as he spoke. "Honorable council members," Morrison began, "I want you to understand something about humans. We don't just protect our own children. We protect all children, regardless of species." He gestured to a display showing human rescue operations across the galaxy. In the past week alone, human ships have responded to 17 distress calls involving young beings of various species. We didn't ask what planet they came from or what their parents looked like. We just helped. The council chamber was completely quiet. Morrison continued, "Dr. Kelthera asked me why humans show such extreme protective responses. She called it irrational. But there's nothing irrational about protecting innocence." He activated another display showing footage of the children in their cages. These kids spent 2 years believing their families were dead, 2 years thinking they were alone in the universe. But they never gave up hope because they knew that somewhere someone cared about them. Morrison's voice grew stronger. "That's not primitive programming, that's not biological imperative, that's love. And love is what separates civilized beings from monsters." The Altarian representative spoke next. Her species looked like tall, graceful birds with metallic feathers. "The Empire has reviewed Dr. Kelthera's research methods. We find them barbaric and unacceptable. Any species that would deliberately orphan children for scientific study has forfeited their right to conduct research on sentient beings." One by one, representatives from different species stood to condemn the Zephyrian actions. The Crystalline Confederacy showed holographic images of their own young, small crystal formations that grew slowly over centuries with careful tending from their communities. Even beings of silicon and mineral understand the sacred duty to nurture the developing, their representative stated. "Life protects life. This is universal law." The Vegan Empire, despite their past conflicts with humans, offered their full support. "We have fought wars with humans over resources and territory," their representative admitted. "But we have never questioned their dedication to protecting young life. Today we stand with them." Dr. Kelthera was called to defend her actions. She stood before the council with her 4 arms trembling, no longer the confident scientist she had been days earlier. The research was necessary, she insisted. Human pack-bonding behaviors needed documentation. We saved those subjects from certain death. You caused their families' deaths, the council chairman stated firmly. You orchestrated a disaster to create orphans for your experiments. It was for the greater good of galactic understanding, Dr. Kelthera replied weakly. Morrison stood up from the witness area. Your Honor, may I respond to that? The chairman nodded. Morrison looked directly at Dr. Kelthera. Doctor, there is no greater good that comes from murdering parents and caging their children. There is no scientific understanding worth the tears those kids cried every night for 2 years. The most powerful testimony came from the children themselves. Dr. Kim brought them before the council via video link. Danny Rodriguez spoke for all of them. We knew our families loved us, he said simply. Even when the aliens told us they were dead, we knew someone would come looking for us. Humans don't abandon each other. Little Noah Phillips added, the tall blue lady said we were just animals for studying. But we're not animals. We're people. We have names and families and dreams. Lisa Rodriguez held her brother's hand as she spoke. Danny took care of all of us. He shared his food even when he was hungry. He told us stories to help us sleep. That's what families do. The impact of their words was visible throughout the council chamber. Even species that communicated through color changes or chemical signals showed clear signs of distress and anger. Dr. Veltok was called to testify about his involvement in the research. The young Zephyrian scientist looked ashamed as he spoke. Participated in this research believing it was proper scientific method, he admitted. I watched the human children comfort each other, share resources, and maintain hope. I documented their behaviors without understanding what I was really seeing. He paused, struggling with emotions his species rarely experienced. When Captain Morrison arrived and showed such protective fury, I began to understand. These were not subjects for study. They were children stolen from their families. I am ashamed of my participation. The Zephyrian government representative tried to defend their species' actions, but the evidence was overwhelming. Communications revealed that Dr. Kelthera had acted with full government approval. The rescue had been planned for months. As the trial continued, something remarkable happened across the galaxy. Species began establishing new protections for their young. The Andromedan Council proposed the Sentient Youth Protection Accords with humans as the primary architects. The proposed laws would establish universal protections for developing members of all species. No research could be conducted on young beings without explicit consent from their guardians. Any species that violated these protections would face immediate sanctions. But the most significant change was happening among the Zephyrians themselves. Young members of their species, inspired by the human children's courage and the protective responses they had witnessed, began forming unprecedented family groups. Dr. Veltok was leading this revolution. "We have been wrong for millennia," he declared to his people. "We abandoned our young because we thought it made us strong. But true strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves." The trial was reaching its conclusion, but its impact would be felt across the galaxy for generations. The discovery of caged human children had revealed something fundamental about what it meant to be truly civilized. The reckoning was complete. Now would come the transformation. The day of reunion was broadcast across the galaxy. Human families who had spent 2 years believing their children were dead waited on the space station as the rescue ships arrived. When the airlock doors opened and the children ran into their parents' arms, there was not a dry eye among any species watching. Maria and Carlos Rodriguez fell to their knees as Danny and Lisa rushed toward them. The family held each other so tightly that nothing could have separated them. "We never stopped looking," Maria whispered through her tears. "We knew you were alive somewhere." Noah Phillips's parents, Janet and Kevin, swept their little boy into their arms. "I knew someone would find me," Noah said happily. "Danny told us humans never give up." Dr. Sarah Kim watched the reunions with professional satisfaction and personal joy. The children she had helped heal were going home. But more importantly, their courage had changed the galaxy. The Galactic Federation had unanimously passed the Sentient Youth Protection Accords. Dr. Kelthera and her research team faced life imprisonment for their crimes. The Zephyrian government was undergoing complete restructuring under galactic oversight. But the most remarkable transformation was happening among species across the stars. The human example of protective love had inspired changes that no one had thought possible. On the Zephyrian homeworld, young adults were forming family units for the first time in their species' recorded history. Dr. Veltok had become a leader in this movement, working with human advisors to develop new social structures based on care and protection rather than abandonment. "We called humans primitive for caring for their young," Dr. Veltok said in a galactic broadcast. "But we were the primitive ones. We were the ones who had forgotten the most basic truth of intelligent life. The strong must protect the weak." The Crystalline Confederacy began sharing their ancient nurturing techniques with other species. Their slow-growing young required centuries of careful tending, and they had developed sophisticated methods of community protection that they now offered to teach others. The Altarian Empire established the first interspecies childcare facilities. Young beings from different worlds could develop together under the protection of multiple species, learning about diversity and cooperation from an early age. Even the warlike Rigel Confederation changed their approach to conflict. They declared that any war zone containing young beings of any species would be considered off-limits for military action. "Warriors protect the innocent" became their new motto. Captain Morrison was offered promotions and honors from a dozen different governments, but he chose a different path. He established the Guardian Protocol, a human commitment to monitor and protect children throughout the galaxy. "We're not trying to be the galaxy's police," Morrison explained to the Federation Council. "We're trying to be the galaxy's family. When children are in danger anywhere, humans will respond." The Guardian Protocol became incredibly effective. Human ships patrolled space lanes known for trafficking in young beings. Human colonies offered sanctuary to refugee families regardless of species. Human diplomats made child protection a priority in every negotiation. Other species began requesting human oversight for their own youth protection programs. The humans had become the galaxy's trusted guardians of innocence. Danny Rodriguez now, back in school on his home colony, received letters from young beings across the galaxy. They were inspired by his courage and leadership during those 2 terrible years in captivity. "Dear Danny," wrote a young Altarian, "I heard how you took care of the other human children. I want to be brave like you and help protect others too." Lisa. Rodriguez started a program pairing human children with young aliens for cultural exchange. "Everyone should have friends from different planets," she explained. "That way we understand each other better." Noah Phillips, with his sunny personality restored, became something of a celebrity. But he used his fame to raise awareness about protecting children everywhere. "All kids deserve to feel safe and loved," he said in interviews. Dr. Sarah Kim established the Trauma Recovery Institute, specializing in helping young beings who had suffered separation from their families. She worked closely with Dr. Veltok, who had become an expert in rehabilitation psychology. "The human children taught us something profound," Dr. Veltok explained to his students. "Even in the darkest circumstances, hope and love can survive. Our job is to nurture that light until it shines bright again." The changes reached into every corner of galactic society. Trade agreements now included protections for young workers. Scientific protocols required special ethics reviews for any research involving developing beings. Tourism regulations ensured that family groups could travel safely together. The Andromedan Council, the oldest and most advanced species in the galaxy, issued a statement that became known as the Declaration of Universal Childhood. "We have traveled the stars for millions of years, seeking knowledge and advancement, but it took a group of human children to teach us the most important lesson of all. Civilization is measured not by our technology or our conquests, but by how we treat the most vulnerable among us." Ambassador Elena Martinez was awarded the highest honors from dozens of species for her role in securing the children's freedom. But her proudest moment came when she received a simple drawing from Noah Phillips, showing humans and aliens holding hands around a planet. "This is the future we're building," she said, displaying the drawing in her office. Admiral Ryan Brooks restructured the human defense fleet to include rapid response teams specifically trained for child rescue operations. "Our weapons are powerful," he told his officers, "but our greatest strength is our willingness to use them protecting innocence." The transformation continued to spread. Species that had been enemies for centuries found common ground in protecting their young. Trade routes became safer as multiple species worked together to eliminate trafficking. Scientific research became more ethical as the galactic community demanded higher standards. 2 years after the trial, Captain Morrison received an emergency distress call from a remote system. A mixed colony of several species was under attack by raiders, and hundreds of children were in immediate danger. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ships from 12 different species converged on the system within hours. Human vessels led the charge, but they were supported by Altarian cruisers, crystalline defense platforms, reformed Zephyrian rescue ships, and even vegan Empire medical vessels. The raiders found themselves facing not just human fury, but the combined protective instincts of half the galaxy. They surrendered without firing a shot. As Morrison walked through the rescued colony checking on children of a dozen different species, he thought about how much had changed. A Zephyrian medic was carefully treating a young Altarian's injuries. A crystalline engineer was fixing the playground equipment. A vegan botanist was growing food for the refugees. Dr. Veltok approached him with a report. The young Zephyrian had become Morrison's most trusted partner in Guardian protocol operations. "All children are accounted for and safe," Dr. Veltok reported. "No injuries, no casualties." Morrison nodded, then asked, "Doctor, do you ever regret what happened? Your species went through a lot of changes because of those 12 human children." Dr. Veltok looked out at the scene before them. Zephyrian adults were playing with alien children, teaching them games and sharing stories. His people had learned to laugh and love and hope. "Captain," he said quietly, My species spent millennia thinking we were advanced because we felt nothing for our young, but we were just empty. Those human children taught us how to be whole. A small voice called out. Captain Morrison, a young, alien child, one of the refugees they had just rescued, ran up to him with a flower picked from the colony's garden. Thank you for saving us, she said, offering him the flower. Morrison knelt down and accepted the gift. Around him, the galaxy's newest generation played together without regard for species or homeworld. They were growing up in a universe where protecting children was every adult's responsibility. You're welcome, sweetheart, Morrison told the little girl. That's what families do. The transformation was complete. The galaxy had learned what it meant to be truly civilized, and it had learned from the courage of human children who never stopped believing that someone would come for them. In the end, the greatest discovery was not scientific or technological. It was the simple truth that love and protection are the foundation of any advanced civilization, and that truth would guide the galaxy for generations to come.